Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my first impressions plus on-feet video of the brand new Puma evoSPEED 1.4 SLS in the black and safety yellow colorway. Now inside the box, all you get are the shoes themselves. They do not come with any extras. So let me get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at what is supposed to be a more durable version of a pretty controversial boot from Puma, the regular evoSPEED 1.4 SL, that is incredibly lightweight, but not very durable. It comes with a warning sticker, essentially letting you know that the shoe is only going to last approximately 10 games or 10 uses. And based on my personal experience with two different pairs of evoSPEED 1.4 SLs, that warning is fairly accurate. So the SLS, the second S, they haven't specified what it stands for. I believe it stands for strong, if I had to guess, is, like I said, a more durable version of that evoSPEED 1.4 SL. With that said, these aren't as light, and obviously there are some significant changes to the upper that are going to make this a significantly more durable shoe. I can tell you that already. This upper is totally different, and the shoe's just going to last a lot longer. They don't come with any kind of warning as far as how long they're expected to last, and just based on the overall construction, they seem pretty solid given how light they are, and they're still extremely lightweight shoes, just not as light as the regular SL. So we're going to be going over all the details in the video, the weight, the new upper changes, the way these things fit and feel on feet, the sizing, pretty much everything you need to know. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video, where you will find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. So keep that in mind as well. These things retail for $50 less than the less durable evoSPEED 1.4 SL. So at $200, if you just want a super thin, super lightweight shoe, this may be one to look out for. So with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's take a look at the weight. Obviously to the left in orange, I have the regular evoSPEED 1.4 SL, and then to the right in black and yellow, I have the new SLS model. Now again, they've beefed up the upper significantly, and it also does come with the comfort insole as opposed to the thinner, more lightweight insole in the evoSPEED 1.4 SL. So expect the weight difference not necessarily to be significant, but obviously the SLS model is going to weigh more. So I'm going to weigh both shoes for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9.5 US. So we'll start off with the standard SL model, extremely lightweight in hand. Throw them on the scale and you can see that they weigh in at 3.7 ounces, the equivalent of 105 grams, which is absolutely ridiculous. These things are the lightest pair of shoes that I've personally ever worn. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the SLS model, which also feels extremely lightweight in hand. And you can see that they weigh in at 5.2 ounces, the equivalent of 148 grams. So there definitely is a significant weight difference between the two, about 1.5 ounces, which isn't really a lot of weight in the grand scheme of things, but when you're going from a shoe that's basically 3.5 ounces to a shoe that's about 5.2 ounces, you're definitely going to notice a weight difference between the two. At 5.2 ounces, this is, aside from the evoSPEED 1.4 SL, the lightest shoe on offer. So the SLS, being a more durable option, is still extremely lightweight. Like I said, lighter than anything else out there at the moment. So again, if you want that super lightweight feel, but obviously don't want to sacrifice durability, then the SLS model is probably the better choice over the evoSPEED 1.4 SL. But the 1.4 SL is still the lighter shoe and probably the more unique experience of the two shoes. Again, if you can swallow the very large price tag for the lack of playing time that you'll get out of them. Next, let's talk tech specs and durability. Now, if you guys are wondering how long the regular evoSPEED 1.4 SL lasts, which is what I have right here, I'll leave an annotation on screen to my original video that I put up after testing a couple different pairs that actually shows the pair that I wore and how they ended up breaking, and I kind of explained why the shoe isn't all that durable in the first place. It mainly has to do with the super thin, pretty much translucent upper that, just because of how thin it is and because of how flexible it is, it can't properly bond to the sole plate, or it's just not a strong bond. You get that super lightweight experience, but like I said, they're not built to last, which Puma does clearly warn you about, which you can appreciate to a certain extent, because a lot of companies will come out with a super lightweight concept and kind of just suggests that they're going to be as durable as any other shoe, but that's not the case. With the SLS model, they've changed a lot. The upper is completely different. It's a lot thicker, and the sole plate itself is pretty much the same. To me, it feels like the plastic is ever so slightly thicker, but that's kind of just a guess based on how they feel in my hand as well as on feet. Still very, very thin though, so keep that in mind. Now, as far as how long you can expect the SLS model to last, until I actually have some decent playing time in them, I can't say 100% for sure. Durability is always one of those things that's pretty impossible to predict, but just based on the construction and how these things feel, the upper is a lot more rugged, a lot more solid, and the bond between the sole plate and the upper feels a lot stronger as well. So this is one of those shoes that if durability is a really, really kind of main priority for you, again, buying any shoe in the 5-ounce weight range probably isn't the best idea. But if you're expecting to buy these shoes and hoping for them to last about a season or so, that's something that I think you can safely get out of the SLS models without any major concerns in regards to durability. So with the upper, what exactly have they changed? Obviously, they're not translucent, they're not paper thin. It's more of a rubbery plastic type synthetic material. I wish it was more like the regular evoSPEED 1.4, but it's a little bit firmer in my opinion, which is not necessarily a bad thing from a durability standpoint, which is what I think Puma is really trying to do with this particular shoe. It's really interesting that they would come out with a super light model with that durability warning sticker, and then shortly after that, based on the negative response, come out with a more durable version. It kind of makes me wonder whether or not this was kind of the plan to release the SLS model later on from the beginning, or if this was actually a direct response to the negative kind of response that they got from the public on the regular evoSPEED 1.4 SL. Just based on how this shoe actually feels and how it looks, I actually think that this is one of those shoes that was kind of like a rush order where they just decided to release a more durable version of that SL model just to say that they had something more durable and to kind of take away some of the, I guess, negative PR that this SL model was giving them based on the lack of durability that it had. It's kind of an interesting little situation here, but again, if you want a more durable version of the evoSPEED 1.4 SL, the SLS is definitely going to provide that. So the upper, you can see that it does have that same speed frame kind of pattern, the Spider-Man kind of web-like design going all the way through the upper. That is still at the base of this shoe. So that's pretty much the only element from the regular evoSPEED 1.4 SL that this upper maintains. On the inside, there's a liner, and over top of that, there is a microfiber synthetic material that, as you guys can see by the side profile, is definitely thin, but nowhere near as thin as the actual SL. So what you're going to find is that this is going to provide a thinner touch on the ball. It's a similar thickness to what you're going to find on the regular evoSPEED 1.4, like I mentioned. But like I said, a little bit more plasticky, a little bit firmer, but that's something that of course could change over time. In regards to the overall shape of the shoe, that feels pretty much identical to the regular SL model, and the actual stiffer synthetic as well is going to be a lot more responsive and just lock your foot in place better. There's actually a lot of rollover in this super lightweight shoe just based on how thin and flexible the upper is. It just doesn't have the kind of structure that you perhaps would want from a soccer shoe. So this is going to have a much more locked-in sensation, which again is a positive thing. They're not as light, but at 5.2 ounces, they're certainly not going to weigh you down. They are, aside from the regular SL, the lightest shoe on offer, like I just mentioned. As far as texturing on the surface of the upper goes, you're going to find that it does have a very slight kind of, I don't want to say grittiness, but there is this kind of line pattern that does give it a bit of extra grip on the ball as opposed to just being left completely slick. But for the most part, this is going to provide more of a barefoot feel. Not really much in the way of extra padding. Not the thinnest shoe that money can buy, but certainly the lightest thin shoe available if you want them to at least last a little bit. As far as the lacing system goes, laces run down the middle, as you guys can see. The tongue is made from kind of more of a mesh-based synthetic material, more similar to what you're going to find on the actual SLS. On the regular SL, sorry, but not something that's going to impact durability in any way. It's got the exact same cut in the heel. It's got the perforated synthetic leather liner on the inside. The insole doesn't come with the super lightweight one. It comes with only the comfort one, which is probably better in the long run. It's a mesh liner on top, some perforations throughout, and it's made from this fairly solid kind of red foam material that actually feels really, really good, and you want the thicker insole with this shoe. They include it with the regular SL as well, just because the sole plate is definitely on the thinner side. So the sole plate and stud pattern, you can see that it is Very, very thin. Like I mentioned, the SLS model does feel a little bit thicker to me. It's really difficult to say. Only time will tell in terms of how thick it actually is, but this is one of those shoes that, because of the thin sole plate and because of the more aggressive stud pattern, you can say this about the regular evoSPEED models and the regular evoPower models from Puma as well, is that they're not ideal for harder ground. So if you play on hard ground, you're going to have issues with stud pressure pretty much no matter what. So unless you're playing on kind of more ideal field conditions on natural grass where the ground is not necessarily soft, but kind of in good condition, I suppose, in terms of its softness, this stud pattern is going to be fine for you. You're not going to have any issues. Even on soft ground, you should be all right. But like I said, if the ground is a little bit harder, probably not the best option for you. You can see that you do have the external heel counter, which is really, really nice. And then you do have your speed track system in the sole plate as well, which is made from a combination of Pebax as well as nylon as far as inserts go. So you get good stiffness through the midfoot and really good flexibility in the forefoot. So they have a nice kind of natural ride to them. It's not as firm as something like an Adizero Sprint frame like we've seen from Adidas in the past. This is a lot more flexible in the forefoot, which is a good or bad thing depending on what you like. As far as the stud pattern goes, you can see in the heel, it's got a 3-stud layout, which is kind of unusual. 2 bladed studs on the outside, 1 conical stud on the medial side. That's there as kind of a weight saver, plus it looks pretty cool. Does it actually perform any better? Not really, and it doesn't really feel weird either. It's something that you don't really notice while you're playing. But the studs in the forefoot, it's a similar layout to what you actually see from Adidas with the 3 studs on either side, but the studs themselves are definitely longer. They're a little bit narrower in profile, and obviously they're different shape as well. So you have these conical studs that have these little notchy cutouts. They dig into the ground really, really nicely, provide very aggressive bite, just given on how narrow and how long they are. And then you have the bladed studs at the base of the forefoot as well. So as far as multi-directional traction is concerned, this is a very, very aggressive stud pattern. And because the sole plate can bend and flex so easily with your foot, you really get a nice amount of bite, given that the shoe can kind of move more naturally with your foot, so you have as many studs under your feet as possible at all times. And again, just in regards to traction, it's very, very aggressive and very, very solid. And given the more structured upper that you get on the SLS model versus the regular SL, these are going to be a lot more responsive as well. So as a super lightweight, thin synthetic option, the SLS is a really, really interesting, very attractive shoe in my opinion. So if you're on the market for, like I said, something thin and light, the SLS should definitely be on your radar. Aesthetically, I think this is a really good looking shoe. With the SLS model, they really didn't change the look coming from the standard SL version. So it maintains the same kind of sleek look to it, which is kind of what you would expect from this style of shoe. This particular colorway is really, really nice. It's pretty much all black. You have kind of a more matte finish and a shiny finish on different parts of the upper with the texturing that they've implemented here, which actually looks pretty cool. All black sole plate, all black heel counter, all black laces. And then of course you have that safety yellow, which is basically just a highlighter yellow color in the form stripe, the little bit here on the tongue, and the Puma branding on the medial side. So the combination of neon yellow and black always looks good in my opinion. And I just like the general simplicity of this particular silhouette. It's sleek, it's modern, it's kind of really, really streamlined looking, and it looks light, which I guess is kind of what they were going for with this whole Puma evoSPEED SL SLS venture in the first place. So for me, I really like how these shoes look. Let me know your opinions on them down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Puma evoSPEED 1.4 SLS on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock black laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of neon yellow reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. Find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they feel, I guess to a certain extent, somewhat similar to the regular SL model. The upper is definitely a lot stiffer and a lot more kind of well reinforced. It's a sturdier type of synthetic, which I would argue is maybe not as comfortable, but is probably better for you in the long run. These are not uncomfortable by any means. It's a tighter fitting shoe, but certainly not restrictively tight in any way. They definitely don't fit as snug as something like a Nike Mercurial Vapor 10, for example, but still, like I said, a tighter fitting shoe. So if you have really, really wide feet, this probably isn't the best option for you. But with that being said, they still will be suitable for most people. In regards to the overall shape of the shoe. It's fairly slim running through the midfoot area, although again, not as narrow as a lot of options out there. And there's some decent width in the forefoot and toe box area, but it is lower volume as well. So again, just keep that in mind. And as far as stretching is concerned, this just doesn't come across as the type of synthetic that's going to stretch all that much. It definitely will soften up after some wear time, but for the most part, the way these things fit from right out of the box is the way they're going to fit for their entire lifespan. And for a shoe that weighs in at 5.2 ounces, honestly, these things are pretty comfortable and more flexible than I was expecting them to be. Again, not quite the same feel as what you're going to get from that regular SL model, but they're a lot more durable, and I just think a more realistic product in the long run if you're planning on spending $200+ on a pair of soccer shoes. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing a half size larger than my usual size 9 US, a 9.5, and the fit length is absolutely perfect. The evoSPEED line, same with the Evo Power line from Puma, generally runs about a half size small. So if you go a half size up, you should be good to go. And again, if you're looking to order a pair of these, I would strongly recommend going a half size up in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that is it for my first impressions of the new Puma evoSPEED 1.4 SLS. Expect to see more follow-up content on this shoe in the very near future on my channel. In the meantime, if you are looking for more info, click the very first link down below in the description of this video. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where right now you'll find high-quality images of this exact pair that I took myself, as well as buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $200 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the SLS, leave them down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.